Hello and welcome, viewers, on this live chat session. Thank you for joining. Ashanafi Rage, Free Tigray, Johannes Samere, Sam Michael, Free Tigray, Bisrat Mulo, Izana Johannes, Molokan Married, D. Sky Walker, Birhane, Misgabe, Lemlem Kase, Etnotiosi Tifera, Etnotios Tifera, Novis Canal Nova, Samantha Yare, Dagi Blessed, Solomon Fasiha, Elias Eri, Izana Johannes. Thank you for joining. Thank you, all of you. Muli Sage Blue Tube. First question from first viewer who commented, first of all, Ashanafi, what is new development? Okay, we'll talk about that. Free Tigray says, can I send you free Tigray merchandise? Well, if you could send to the people, I would be more happy. I mean, the people who are in need in Ethiopia, if they can make use of that, I'll be more happy. Thank you, by the way. Bisrat is asking, is it true that TDF has surrounded Kambolcha? Okay, I'll respond to it. Izana says, ENDF is coming with full force to Volo. Molokan says, TPLF spokesperson, Honorable Mr. Sajid. Do you see TPLF making decisive break in Dessie? D. Skywalker says. Well, first of all, I am always under fire. Whatever I say, I'm always under fire. I spoke about airstrikes on Tigray. I was under fire from TPLF supporters. They said, Sajid, you were being paid by PM Abiy. And today I talked about some reports from front lines, and I was portrayed as being backed by TDF. So it happens almost on daily basis. So whether you call me TPLF spokesperson or PM Abiy spokesperson, it does not matter. It happens on daily basis. Sise Yigza, hi Sajid, don't ask the government to surrender. Ask influence TPLF to surrender. No one will surrender. No one will surrender. Ibrahim Muhammad, I saw your interview on Tigray TV. Honestly, we need an honest journalist. Thank you, Ibrahim. A response to a question. Someone was asking about ENDF resources. Have they mobilized all their resources on Dessie front? I don't know about ENDF. I do know about Amhara region. Amhara region is treating Dessie and Kambolcha fronts as a sort of lifeline. Do or die fronts. Their forces, Amhara forces, they retreated from several fronts in the past. Kobo, Koram, Alamata, Vuldia as well. But here they say that if Amhara forces retreat from here, Amhara militias, TDF will be able to join hands with Oromo Liberation Army. Once TDF crosses Dessie and Kambolcha, it can practically start ground operations with OLA in Amhara. That is why Amhara region is committing its entire resources on this front. Huge mobilization is underway in Amhara region, viewers. From Gojam, from Gondar as well. hundreds, thousands, perhaps, I can confirm hundreds, but people say thousands. Thousands of fighters are entering Cambodia for onwards movement into Dessie and then on front lines. So while people are fleeing Dessie, we know that people are fleeing Dessie. There was panic in Dessie when TDF was getting close to Dessie. People started fleeing. Yes, people are fleeing, but fighters are arriving. So the change is that I think I have talked about that in previous videos, that Amhara forces won't withdraw from Dessie. Viewers did not agree with me. Some viewers, they said, no, Sajid, you see what happened in Voldia, what happened in Kobo. They'll withdraw from Dessie as well. No, viewers, they're not withdrawing from Dessie. Amhara militias, especially Fano militias, now they're playing a lead role. In Kambolcha, they're patrolling the city, in Dessie as well. Militia members, arrivals from Gojam, from Gondar, they are fighting on front lines. It has become perhaps the most important front of this war. People say battle for Addis Ababa is being fought on Dessie front. Well, I agree with that. Yes, no doubt that fight for the control of Addis Ababa, it is being fought on this front. Amhara politicians, their influencers, they are saying that OLA and TDF must not be allowed to collaborate. If they start collaborating, the very existence of Amhara ethnic group could be in danger. And they're very close to joining on battlefronts. That is why we are seeing huge mobilization of locals, residents of almost entire Amhara region. In terms of human resource, in terms of manpower, yes, ENDF suffered losses, but now thousands of fighters are arriving on this front. How experienced are they? We can talk about that. But in terms of numbers, there is presence of perhaps thousands of fighters on this front now. TDF is not withdrawing from Dessie as well. It's advancing, it's retreating, advancing, retreating. From at least 3 fronts, TDF is trying to capture Dessie. From Vagaltana, from Marsa, from Haik, Bisitima. It's suffering losses as well. Of course, no side would admit its losses. It's advancing, it's withdrawing, it's advancing, it's withdrawing, it's happening. So now Dessie has become a very important front. How will TDF counter this massive onslaught of human waves of Amhara fighters? That remains to be seen. But war is very intense. Fighting is very intense on this front, and no one would be surprised if hundreds are being killed on this front on daily basis. Someone was asking about drones. In the day, someone sent me a question. Now a viewer, even now, is asking a question about drones. The problem, viewers, is that we don't know which type of drones does Ethiopian government have. People say drones are not making any difference. Well, we can only judge the effectiveness of drone if we know Which type of drones has been purchased by Ethiopian government? Iranian, Turkish, or UAE, Chinese? We don't know, viewers. I personally think that drones have so far done reconnaissance and surveillance activities. Airstrikes on Makile are being carried out. And before that, drones have done their work. They have done extensive mapping, extensive surveillance of targets. Drones are doing their job in Tigray, I think. But their combat use, their use to conduct airstrikes, so far we haven't seen any significant use of these drones. Is Ethiopian government keeping one of its weapons stored for future use? Or Ethiopian drones has limited specifications? That remains to be seen. We need to wait for a few weeks, I would say. If TDF somehow takes Dessie, Cambodia, and we don't see any use of drones, it means that ENDF's drones have limited specifications. But my information confirms that drones are being used for reconnaissance, for surveillance, especially over Tigray. Targets are being sorted out, selected by drones over Tigray. I think I'm speaking too much today. Hello, Mr. Views and News. Will TDF take Dessie and how long? That is what we're talking about. Almost 5 days ago, when TDF was close to Hayek and Bisitima, it seemed TDF was about to storm Dessie. TDF was on the gates of Dessie. Then things changed. We saw a call for mobilization. NAMA, National Movement of Amharas, Dessie Mayor, Amhara regional government, all called upon the people of Amhara to reach Dessie front. Then we saw continuous arrival of people, of residents of different parts of Amhara on Dessie front, and ENDF reinforcements as well. Of course, ENDF is not totally finished. ENDF reinforcements arrived. Amhara residents of different regions arrived. Fano militia members arrived. Now, Amhara forces, ENDF are trying to push TDF back. Front lines very fluid, very volatile. Hayek, Bisitima, and Boromaida. I personally see the three places as contested. Both sides are making conflicting claims about the three places: Boromaida, Hayek, and Bisitima. I personally see these places as contested. Fighting is going on in or near the three places. So far, it's not that TDF has been totally pushed back from Dessie. Having said that, TDF has not made gains as what it achieved a few days ago. After that, TDF could not advance. So there is a sort of stalemate now, because massive human wave attacks are being launched from Dessie side in northern direction. It's difficult to say how long TDF will take to take control of Dessie. It's very difficult to say now. Do you think UN would impose no-fly zone? People always ask questions about UN. UN is not one person. UN is not Antonio Guterres. UN is not one person. It's not one country. Top UN body, UN Security Council, has 5 permanent members. And out of these 5 members, 2 are supporting Ethiopian government. China, Russia, they have opposed several measures at UN Security Council to impose sanctions on the Ethiopian government. So UN cannot do anything. UN Security Council is split. Don't expect anything big at the UN. Only big thing can be a unilateral action from a country, not by UN. US can take some action. EU as a body can take some action. Of course, Russia can respond as well in Ethiopian government support. But do you think bypassing Dessie, Kambolcha and marching on to Addis is a likely alternative for TDF? Yeah, important question. Is there a possibility of TDF bypassing Dessie, Kambolcha and marching towards Addis Ababa? Well, one possibility is that instead of taking Dessie, Kambolcha, TDF can try to take Djibouti, Ethiopia road. From Shefra, it can move towards Mile. Second option could be TDF can try to move from Gashina in western direction towards Gondar. But it's difficult. It's difficult to bypass Dessie and Kambolcha and capture Addis Ababa. It's very difficult. You need to have this road, this place. You need to keep your back as well, because if you have Marsa, if you have Waldia, you would try to keep your back secured as well. So you need Dessie, you need Kambolcha to move towards Addis Ababa. Hello Media says, you took the money you paid worth, and tomorrow these fools going to start crying to the international community. I don't know who is paying me. I am not getting anything. Yesterday I saw a tweet from a die-hard supporter of Amhara region, Ethiopian government, Araya, his name is something like that, with more than 100k followers. And he accused me of being paid by TDF, TPLF. Ridiculous accusations. No one knew me before the start of this war. And I have my background in terms of covering wars. This channel did not start after the start of this war. The channel has been working before the start of this war. It's the 5th war being covered by this channel. Only YouTube channel in the world which is covering, which has covered 5 wars so far. So when I started working, there was no conflict in Ethiopia. It was several years ago. That is why. But you know that sometimes it makes me sad too, because I want to cover this conflict impartially, neutrally. And it's a way of helping the people of Ethiopia. If you stick to the truth, then you're helping this conflict, the resolution to this conflict. But when people make me controversial, they try to make me controversial, it makes me sad, viewers. But then this conviction keeps me going. Viewers, their support keeps me going, that you are impartial, you are neutral. Don't worry about these hateful comments. Ibrahim is asking about Gondor Front. No significant developments on Gondor Front. TDF has not made any gains there. TDF was close to Zarima, I think, there. And in North Gondar, no important developments on Gondar Front. Haki Worky, we admire your work. Thank you, Haki. Christian YT, good to see you and appreciate what you do. Thank you, Christian. Cardil Gali, are you CIA member? Michael Kumela says, love you, Michael. Have you seen Harmila Ergavi's video? I have seen several of her statements, her videos, but she is not speaking neutrally now. That is, I don't quote her now. How did you know deep information in Ethiopia? Well, I always cover a conflict in totality. I cover humanitarian aspect, military aspect, political aspect, diplomatic aspect. When you start covering a conflict in totality, you start learning about the conflict. You start learning about the intentions, the motives, the objectives of the parties to the conflict. So it's not difficult to understand. And secondly, thousands of you stay in touch with me. I cannot read all the comments, all the mails as well, all the SMS as well. And people regularly update me about what's happening on the ground. I get some translation help as well from some sources, and I always consult both sides. That's my belief, that you cannot get to the truth if you don't listen to one of the two sides. Always listen to both sides. Then it's up to you to make up your mind. Whatever you want to form as your opinion, do it after listening to both the parties. See what's their position is. Then you can make up your mind. Will the airstrikes make sanctions worse? I have been following statements from the US, from other countries about these airstrikes. If you have been following as well, no country has so far officially condemned airstrikes. They are condemning civilian killings. They are saying that civilian targets should not be hit. No one is threatening that if you continue airstrikes will impose sanctions. Because Ethiopian government has this position that airstrikes are on military targets. And Ethiopian government might be in possession of some evidence as well. TDF's military assets will definitely be targeted in Tigray. There is no doubt about that. That is the main purpose of these airstrikes. Can Ethiopian Air Force do it? That remains to be seen. Civilians are being killed too. Yes, civilians are being killed because what we have seen so far, especially what we saw yesterday, it seemed that Ethiopian Air Force does not have precision striking capability. That is why civilians are being killed in these strikes too. But so far, no country has condemned airstrikes or threatened of sanctions against Ethiopian government. I think US and EU are waiting for UN's report due to be released almost 10 days from now, which is about war crimes committed in Tigray in Amhara. We might see sanctions after that. People are commenting against Amhara, some are commenting against Tigrayans. I never generalize, viewers. You know my position. I never generalize. I never say Tigrayans are good, Amharas are bad, Oromos are bad, Amharas are good, Tigrayans are bad, or Somalis are good. No, I never generalize, viewers. There are good and bad people in each and every community of everywhere. So we should perhaps pinpoint the names, the persons, instead of blaming the entire ethnic group. That leads to hatred. Western Tigray, someone is asking about. No news from Western Tigray. We heard of some fighting in Humra, Vulkait, but no large-scale developments, no significant developments there. We'll have to admit one thing, viewers, that despite TDF's several attempts, it could not penetrate Western Tigray. Eritrean forces are holding Western Tigray and they're defending it. Since November last year, I think 1 year has passed. TDF has made countless attempts to penetrate Western Tigray, but Eritrean forces, especially Eritrean forces, ENDF and Amhara forces, they are in full control of Western Tigray. So far, no signs of any inroads into Western Tigray by TDF. Hike, I talked about hike a few minutes ago. Conflicting claims, we should treat hike as disputed. Hike, Bistima and Boromida. Waiting for some confirmation, visual confirmation about hike, Bisitima and Boromida. There is no such thing as Western Tigray. I have talked about that in previous videos too. I know there are disputes between Tigray and Amhara regarding Humera, Vulkait, Sagade, Raya region as well. I use the term Western Tigray because when this war started, this region was part of Tigray. I do not endorse the fact, the thing that Humera, Vulkai, Sagada should be part of Tigray. It's not, I am not the one to decide that. I use this term because when the war started, Western Tigray was part of Tigray. Yes, there are disputes between Tigray and Amhara regarding Humera, Vulkai. They have their position, Amharas, about this area. That is why I say talks about Western Tigray. First and foremost solution is that Western Tigray could be jointly controlled, jointly monitored. You need to end this conflict somehow. When both sides are not softening their position, you need to find some middle ground. How will you find the middle ground? If you do not want to change or alter your position, you'll have to. Both sides will have to change their position regarding Western Tigray. You are heating the war and spreading fear rather than cooling it. No, I'm not. I am not. People who are spreading fear, they are sharing some other types of videos and claims. I am just reporting about on the ground situation. And it's a way of warning as well. It's a way of warning the viewers as well. that this war is costing thousands of lives. How can I cool it? That's the best way to cool it, that I should tell the truth. I should tell that thousands are dying on battlefronts, that civilians are on battlefronts. It is not a way of heating up things, it's a way of cooling things down. I'm telling you that the best of your human resource is being wasted. OLA recruitments around Addis. Yes, it's true. OLA recruitments around Addis Ababa, in Shua, in Jimma zones have been confirmed. Thousands have been recruited over the past 1 month. I confirmed that, then I made that video. Too much extremism here, you should block people. I have enabled one function which blocks offensive messages that YouTube has given the option to me. It's difficult to block individual users. Some are commenting in other languages. Some are angry as well, because this war is frustrating for everyone. So it would be unwise to just block someone for one comment. But I don't endorse hate speech. Here people exchange some very healthy discussions as well. I read comment section. There are people from different ethnic groups. They are sharing their views. They are exchanging their views. And that makes me happy, that at least there is one forum covering this war where all people, all ethnic group members can come and they can exchange their views peacefully. But yes, some persons do spread hate speech. It's very difficult for me to counter it, honestly. Someone is asking about TDF channels. We have talked about that in previous videos. Yes, TDF channels, much more experienced, seasoned, all of them. And they're on the ground. The best thing about TDF channels is that they are on the ground. And they are not young people. They are not in their 30s or 40s. In their 60s, 70s, on the ground with their people. That is what is keeping Tigrayans behind TDF channels. The channels are on the ground. And we've seen pictures of Sadkan, of Varede, of Migbe, of Dinkle. Dinkle is he is plump sort of a guy. He's on the ground as well. So they are leading from the front. Don't get to see much of ENDF channels. I just saw 1 or 2 pictures so far of ENDF channels. What is the new development on Dessie? New development I talked about at the start of this video, that Amhara region is committing its entire resources on this front. This front now should not be seen as walk in the park for Tigray Defense Force. It's not a walk in the park for TDF now, because Amhara regional government and other zones in Amhara like Gondor, Gojam, they have decided to stop TDF in Dessie at any cost. So it's now going to be a very deadly front. TDF will have to come up with some out-of-box measures to enter Dessie. The way we are seeing resistance, it would lead to more bloodshed, viewers, if TDF keeps on advancing. So far, TDF has not launched any artillery strikes. We should appreciate that, I think, that TDF is not hitting civilians in Dessie, in Cambodia. They were in a position to hit civilians. They did not. We have heard some reports from afar that on Eva Voreda some strikes were conducted by TDF, but not here in Dessie, in Cambodia. No artillery strikes so far. It's part of their strategy that they won't hit Dessie with artillery strikes because people do not want the people to turn against them. That is why no artillery strikes. Who is gaining after airstrikes? We have discussed about airstrikes in detail in videos. Airstrikes will definitely hit TDF targets, TDF positions in Tigray, TDF arms depots, their training camps will be hit. Can these airstrikes make a difference? Without ground operations, the airstrikes would have limited effectiveness. And ENDF is not planning any invasion of Tigray so far. Eritreans are ready in Zalambasa, in Badme, in Western Tigray as well. ENDF is not in a position to launch a major attack on Tigray. ENDF, Amhara forces, they are focusing on Dessie. On Shifra as well. We should not ignore Shifra, viewers. It's not that Shifra is being ignored. No. In fact, Shifra, Dessie are linked as well. Afar forces, ENDF, they are fighting on Shifra front. And TDF is not advancing towards Mille, towards Djibouti, Ethiopia. Does TDF has satellite help? We have been hearing speculations that TDF is being helped by other countries in the form of provision of intelligence. But how to verify that? I mean, of course, TDF will not admit that. If it's being helped, Ethiopian government, other regions have not shared any evidence. So it's a bit difficult to say if they are receiving any intelligence or not through other countries. I just want to say to you, you are is your channel monetized? Yes, it's monetized. It's in Ethiopia, YouTube, I think, does not show any ads. So bulk of my viewership is from Ethiopia. But I'm not earning anything from Ethiopia because I think there are some restrictions there. Ethiopian government has not allowed YouTube to play ads so far. So if you are in Ethiopia, there will be no ads on my videos. Do you think Ethiopia has a strong army at this time? It's not a question of army now, viewers. I told you that on Dessie front, people are fighting. Civilians, farmers, youth, unarmed. So yes, their army has suffered losses. It's in shambles. TDF already a separate army. ENDF has suffered losses. Their national army is in shambles, no doubt about that. But now everyone is fighting. Everyone is a soldier now. From Gojam, from Amhara, from Gondor. Thousands are arriving in Dessie. Because 41 minutes have passed, I think we should now end this live chat session. Thank you for joining. I'll try to do 2 live chat sessions in 1 week now because things are heating up. People want to interact. They ask questions. So here in this session, I can respond to your questions. In this, in the next week, we'll have some chat session in the middle of this week, then on Saturday. Thank you for joining, viewers. Thank you, all of you. One last message for all of you. Please don't be part of spreading hate. Don't be part of spreading hate. Whether you support Amhara region or Ethiopian government or Tigray, don't spread hate. Yes, whatever your opinion is, you have a right to have that opinion. But don't spread hate against any ethnic group. Thanks for watching. See you in the next live chat session. Thank you. Bye bye.